Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and this is my top 10 point guards going into the 2022-2023 season. A couple disclaimers. This list is only based off of last season. I am not projecting how good a player may be, so don't expect a young player to be higher than usual because we are assuming that they get better. This is simply based off of last season going into the season. With that out of the way, I also want to give a few honorable mentions. The first one I wanted to say was Drew Holiday, and then DeJounte Murray. And the reason why both of these guys didn't quite make my top 10 is, they're both elite defenders, but the lack of consistency on offense, personally for me, is a problem. So that's why they weren't able to make my top 10. Now, getting into the list, we'll start at number 10, and I have LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball in just his second season has proven to be one of the better point guards in the league due to his creative and pinpoint passing and ability to fly down the court while still being shifty enough to keep the defense on his toes. LaMelo was able to improve almost every aspect of his game, but unfortunately, he was unable to make the playoffs and he and the Hornets lost to the Hawks in the play-in game. What separates LaMelo from the honorable mentions, in my opinion, is that his game just translates more to winning, and I think that's just because he's a little bit more consistent on the offensive end. LaMelo could rise on this list by continuing to improve, which could definitely happen since Miles Bridges is going to be gone for the foreseeable future. At number 9, I have Chris Paul. CP3 is definitely one of the hardest players to rank on this list because his impact is huge with the Suns winning 64 games, but statistically speaking, he doesn't compare to his peers. However, due to him continuing to age and not being as good of a defender as he used to be, I think the number 9 spot is a good fit. He's still one of the best playmakers, leading the league in assists last season, and without him, the Suns wouldn't be considered finals contenders, in my opinion. At number 8, I have Darius Garland. For being one of the worst starting point guards just 2 years ago to being the 8th best point guard is something Garland should definitely get more praise for, especially since his play this season almost gave them a playoff spot before a Ricky Rubio injury and a late Mobley and Jarrett Allen injury. The Cavs had slipped down into the play-in where they barely lost to the Nets and then unfortunately lost to the Hawks. The Cavs were not expected at all to be good, not even a bit. And without Garland's great feel for the game, passing ability, and scoring ability, along with efficiency, I don't think they make that jump. So that's why I feel Garland is good at 8. At number 7, I have Damian Lillard. Dame is another player that's hard to rank because he's only played 29 games due to an abdominal injury, but even in the time he did play, he did not play up to expectation. Although he still averaged 24 a game, his shooting splits took a dramatic fall. Going in the next season after surgery to fix his injury, I think Dame will be back to his usual self and be around that 3 or 4 spot, but for now, his play puts him here. At number 6, I have Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is another player who didn't play a lot of games, but this was due to him not being vaccinated compared to Dame, who had an injury. But in the time he did play, he sure did impress. In the 29 games Kyrie played, he averaged about 27 points and 6 assists on 46, 41, 91 splits. However, his play against the Boston Celtics was nothing to be impressed about. He dropped down to 21 points per game, shooting poorly in games 2 through 4, and eventually got swept by the future Eastern Conference champs in the first round. Kyrie has the ability to crack the top 5 in my opinion, but he has to perform better in the postseason. At number 5, I have James Harden. If it wasn't for Harden's hamstring injury, he could also be higher on this list, but due to his scoring output not being what it used to be, he's here at number 5. His playmaking, however, is as good as ever, averaging 10.5 assists per game, which is right behind Chris Paul in leading the league. Harden is providing the Sixers with something they needed all season before he got there, a primary ball handler alongside Joel Embiid. With an off-season to rest his hamstring and to build more chemistry with his team, I think Harden will have a bounce back year for sure. At number 4, I got Trae Young. Let me get this out of the way. Trae Young stunk up the joint with how bad he played against the Heat. He averaged 15 points on god-awful shooting, 6 assists, and had 6 turnovers. Trae was bad. However, in the regular season, he was absolutely gifted. Averaging 28 points and 10 assists is nothing to eye roll about, and after a very disappointing season from the Hawks who barely made the playoffs after being the 5th seed the season prior, I think Trae will continue to be dominant, and with DeJounte Murray, I think the Hawks will bounce back. At number 3, I got Ja Morant. Ja's jump from year 2 to year 3 was something special to watch, and I think he was more than deserving to win the most improved player. He's a bona fide star, leading the Grizzlies to the second best record in the league. In the playoffs, although he struggled against the Timberwolves, he more than made up for it against the Warriors, where he averaged 38 points on 50, 43, 85 splits, along with 8 assists and 3 steals per game. Ja figured out how he needed to play, and he shined when the lights were brightest, which is why I would put him higher than Trey, as although he did have a bad performance just like Trey, he was able to make up for it in that second round, which in my opinion is why he deserves to be one spot higher than Trey Young, but it's very close. At number 2, I have Luka Doncic. Luka deserves the number 2 spot not only for his ability to get buckets off the dribble and in the post while also being one of the better passers in the league, but for his ability to will his team all the way to the conference finals and exceeding expectations set for him not only in the beginning of the season, but also the playoffs. People were very split on the Jazz and the Mavs series, and majority of people saw the Suns playing the Warriors in the conference finals, so the Mavericks weren't on people's radar. He was able to overcome a lot of adversity through the season, and he was able to do it without an all-star teammate. To me, there's no debate for anyone to beat Luka at this number 2 spot, except for number 1. And at number 1, I have Steph Curry. There's not much to say about the reigning finals MVP. He may not fill up the stat sheet like Luka, but he's just as impactful, if not more impactful, in terms of winning games, shown with Steph leading the Warriors over the Mavericks to make it to the finals, and eventually winning it all against one of the best defensive teams, the Boston Celtics. The gap between Curry and Luka isn't that big, in my opinion, but for now, Curry's at that top spot. Well, there's my top 10 point guards. If you enjoyed, like the video and sub, because I'll be posting more ranking videos soon. All my socials are in the Linktree link below in the description, along with my podcast channel, so if that interests you, go check that out. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.